You and me must never part. Yes, that is from Color Purple. And no, I don't have a clear reason for starting this week's episode that way. I mean, you know. How y'all doing today? You good? Your mama and them good? Well, great. Welcome back to Conversations with Carrie Lea. And I am your resident singles expert. For those of you who are just now joining, I've been married for just over a year, but I was single for a come on, somebody, long time. So while I may not know tons about marriage, I do know about singleness. Today, we are talking about what to do with dating advice. In my many years of singleness, I received quite a bit of dating advice. And to keep it 100, I kind of felt a way about getting dating advice from married people. I know y'all, yeah, pray for your girl, pray against the spirit of offense. But seriously, unless they were single for like years or like later in their life, I didn't really want to hear what they had to say. I didn't want to hear from the couple who got married at 23 because what? What could you possibly tell me about dating at this big grown age when you was married to your boo at 12? Like what? Huh? What are you going to tell this 30 something or 40 something year old woman about these dating streets? Well, needless to say, I may or may not have had the chip on my shoulder because, I find that a lot of married people don't want to listen to someone who's never been married give advice on marriage. So why would I listen to someone who's never been single as an adult give advice on dating? But you know what? The Lord's been working on me. Quite a bit and softening my heart so that it wouldn't grow cold or hold offense, for the most part. So instead of dumping on folks who gave what I would consider maybe a little inadequate advice, I want to help you navigate through it. So I want to first share that what I think that when people give advice, they mean well. Even if somebody's giving advice on something like, oh, fixing your window on your car or whatever it might be. For the most part, they are really trying to help because maybe they enjoy you or you've come to them several times with the issue. So I think the foundation of the advice is good. And you know what? When they think you're wonderful, they sometimes just want to help you achieve something that you're wanting, which I get that. But since dating advice can sometimes be a little misplaced, it's not always as helpful as we will want. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on what to do when you receive the dating advice, even from the dating advice that you receive from me, which, spoiler alert, that's going to be the next episode. Okay, but first, number one, I want you to check the source. When you're receiving any type of dating advice, you have to check the source. Is the person who's offering the advice someone you would like to emulate or someone you admire because of the evidence of their relationship or walk with the Lord? So basically, like as we like to say at my church, what kind of fruit do you see? Do you see goodness and kindness towards others? Do they have joy? Do they walk around with peace? Now, God can speak through a donkey, so you can't always discredit the source entirely. But, let's use some wisdom before you immediately act. Actually, Proverbs 15 talks about listening to wise people increases your knowledge, but only nonsense comes from the mouth of fools. So again, you kind of got to let me check my source. Where's this coming from? And that desire for wisdom takes us up to point number 2. Now take whatever advice you receive before the Lord in prayer. I'm going to say that again. Whatever advice you receive, take it before the Lord in prayer. I think, yes, it's Philippians 4 that talks about taking everything to God in prayer. And some people might say you over spiritualizing it. Well, listen, okay, well, let me over spiritualize it because I'm going to take it to my Father, my Heavenly Father, who cares about every single part of me, including every hair on my head. Yep, I'm going to take it to him. Not to say that your advice wasn't good, but who's to say that that advice is for me? Now, I feel like we should be doing this with every area of our life. So dating is naturally included in that. It's no different. So if someone suggests online dating or they want to set you up with a friend, while they're talking, and they're telling you maybe about the guy, yeah, he's, 6'2", blah, 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 blah. After 6'2", you probably ain't gonna hear nothing else, girl, I know. But still, if you hear that, like, okay, you can just ask the Lord in your spirit, like, Lord, okay, is this something I should do? Like, what do you think about that guy? Does this make sense for me? You can just have those questions. And you know what? The Lord's going to tell you what to do. And you'll know by either the end of what they're telling you, or you'll just sense something in your spirit like, yeah, this is something that you should do. Or it's like, no, it's something I shouldn't do. And that takes me to tip number 3. Child, sometimes you got to chew the meat and spit out the bones. Quietly, this is like life advice, but just for dating, you're going to chew the meat and spit out the bones, because everything ain't for everybody. You have to be able to discern what's good and forget what's not. Actually, 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 20 to 21 talks about testing all things. And if it doesn't seem right to you and you have prayed about it, go on and toss that advice to the side. Because again, it's not that it may not be good advice, it just may not be for you. So, and you can take what you need to take out of it. I remember when you're dating, I feel like you hear a lot of different things about how hard marriage is. It's not that it's hard per se. Like, I think what they mean is like, it is different. Like, it's very different from single life. Being married is very different. So I would always kind of take them like, okay, what are they talking about? What's so hard? And when the time came where I was dating someone, I wanted to ask more questions. Like, tell me what you mean by it's hard. And I got a little bit more clarity on it. So again, I was able to chew the meat. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's something I need to keep in mind. And then I was able to spit out the bones, because my husband ain't your husband, and this wife ain't like your wife. So, we got to keep that in mind. Now, number 4. This may be a little harder for some than others, especially if you don't like confrontation. But number 4, when you receive dating advice, you can also just politely decline whatever they are trying to offer you. I know, groundbreaking. You can be polite and just say, thank you for that, but I think I'm going to go this other direction. They most likely going to be offended, or they're going to look at you like, well, that's why you single now. Okay, you don't have to say it nasty. You don't have to say it in a rude way. You can just say thanks. But that advice is really not helpful for me at this stage in my life. They might raise the eyebrows and be like, oh, who does she think she is? Somebody who knows herself, because she's around here doing the work. Okay. Like, it's okay to say no. And she's like, you know what? I thank you for that. I think I'm going to maybe go in this direction. You would do it with anything else. Why can't you do it with dating advice? And you can say it with grace and leave the attitude at home. And I bet you they'll get the picture. And again, this may seem confrontational to some, but it can actually put people in their place. Like, oh, well, she ain't going to listen anyway. And it might be, you're like, I'll listen. I just ain't listening to you. I haven't seen the fruit from you. I haven't seen you walking around with joy. You and your husband barely talk to each other, and y'all don't touch each other whenever you're around each other. What I'm not going to do is listen to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you just got to know. You got to be able to tell folks, thank you so much, but I think I'm going to, I'm going to seek some other solutions. See how that sounds? You can maybe break out your corporate voice, whatever that looks like. And then lastly, number 5, when people offer you dating advice, the most you can do is try it out. If it's coming from a good place, you value the person's perspective, and you don't hear a solid, nah, don't do that from the Lord, try it and see what happens. I'll give an example. I had a mentor suggest that I ask someone out on a date. Yep, you heard that right. She was like, why don't you ask him out? And I was looking at her like, well, why would I do that? Now, asking a man out is just totally not my vibe. Like, I am old school with it. I need you to pursue me. Like, that's just how I feel. I feel like that sets other precedents throughout the relationship. To me, there's a standard that's set in my personality, the way it's set up, all of that. But again, at the moment, I was going, I don't know how many years at that time of being single. And I was like, well, what could it hurt? You hear about different situations where a woman's like, well, I actually went up to him. Actually, my mama initiated flirting with my daddy, and they going on 53 years of marriage. So I was like, okay, there might be something to it. So what do I have to lose? I called the dude up. She gave me his number. I called him. Y'all, I'm almost embarrassed to say this. He thought I was someone else for the first part of the conversation. And he was like so happy. He was just like, oh yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. And I was thinking, oh, okay, well, too. And then as I got to talking, he was like, wait, what's your name again? Oof. Child, this should have been my indication at the very beginning. But I was like, no, I am going to see this through. I'm trying something different. I am stepping outside of my box. I think in part I did it because I wanted to show God that I wasn't putting him in a box. I really wanted to show God that, listen, I am open to however you're going to bring it, however you're going to do it. And if it requires me stepping out in faith, okay, well, I'm going to do it. Because quietly, I was hoping it would work. Like, I was hoping that, like, this was the step. This was going to be the thing. This was going to be the story that we tell everybody in the future. And with that, maybe I was just a little too thirsty for a date. I'm just going to keep it all the way 100 with you. Maybe your girl was a little too thirsty. But either way it goes, we had a decent conversation over the phone and we decided to meet up. Dinner was nice. We went to like a Thai food restaurant. But when I tell you there was no chemistry, there was none. I could easily tell that I just wasn't his bag. Like, it wasn't anything, like, he wasn't offensive. He was very kind. He was just himself. But you just know, like, oh, no, this ain't it. And he wasn't mine either. What was very refreshing, though, was his spiritual maturity. I was like, oh, yes, this confirms that I need me a man of God, because the conversation and the awareness, I was like, oh yeah, this is me. I need that in my life. So I feel like if anything I took away from the experience was, okay, Lord, I tried something, but this man, it shows that when the man is about Jesus, he's going to be about Jesus. You ain't got to worry about nothing. And that was just really refreshing to me. So it just wasn't in the particular package that he nor I think we wanted to work with. So we parted ways, and that was that. It wasn't a horrible experience. No, it was a humbling experience, quite a bit. But I also learned that I'm never going to ask a guy out first. That was not, I was like, I'll never do that again. And I never did that again. I just wasn't going to do it. And I didn't have to. And Lord still sent me my husband. So, hey, you know what? That wasn't for me. And thank God my husband had the kahunas to say what he needed to say, child. But listen, I share that story because there's also another story I know of a woman that did ask her husband out. Like, she initiated it. And, he wasn't her husband at the time, and he is now. So it all works out differently. And I'm saying that to say all advice isn't bad advice. Sometimes you have to try it out to see if it works. Okay, y'all, quick rundown. Again, number 1, check the source. What kind of fruit do they have? Number 2, take the advice before the Lord in prayer. What does God have to say about what you should do? And then with some of the advice, chew the meat, spit out the bones. Number 3, that's what you're going to know. And then number 4, sometimes you just got to politely decline and be like, no, that's not for me. Thanks, though. And then lastly, try it out. But all advice isn't bad advice, and all advice isn't good advice. Some of these tips and tricks may work for you, some of them may not. Stay tuned for our next episode, and you'll hear a little bit more. If this episode resonated with you, you'll love my book, Granny Panty Chronicles. It's full of stories like this, messy, hopeful, and all about faith in real life. Grab your copy at carrielee.com, that's CarrieLea.com, or on Amazon.